Well, the Arab Peace Initiative, generally speaking, is a comprehensive peace offer to Israel, normalization of relations. The Israeli response is based on the premise that we can bring certain alterations to that peace initiative so that it can serve as the basis for an Arab-Israeli peace agreement, an Arab-Israeli, and maybe a regional kind of treaty.
Okay. Well, the Saudis have repeatedly stated that their proposal is a question of take it or leave it. Just this week, the Saudi foreign minister said he saw no point in watering down the initiative to accommodate the Israelis when the Prime Minister said it should be updated. How willing do you think the Arab League will really be to entertain a counter-offer?
I know for a fact that they are much less rigid than you just described. It's not a question of watering it down, but it's a question of listening to certain Israeli concerns about some of the components, and we know for a fact that they are open to do that. And once they have, I think this can and should serve as a real basis, because it's not just peace between Israel and the Palestinians, which of course remains the core of such a peace agreement. It's truly an end-of-conflict project between Israel and the Arab world. And under the current regional circumstances, I think it's easy to find the joint interests between Israel and certain moderate Arab Sunni states.
So to take one example, the Palestinian refugee issue. In what way could the differences be gapped between the way the Palestinians and the Arabs interpret a just solution to the refugee problem and the way the Israeli side could accommodate it?
Well, the language of the Arab Peace Initiative, and certainly of the Israeli one, is just and agreed solution. And in the word agreed, I think, is the recognition by all sides that just a simple mechanical right of return is out of the question and will never happen. There is not a component, a player in the Arab-Israeli peace negotiations ever who has thought that that would be a practicable solution. So I think that the general concept of what used to be the Clinton parameters and certain other texts that are relevant for the Arab-Israeli and most particularly the Palestinian-Israeli conflict remain the basis, the possible basis for such a solution, which is maybe a symbolic return of a certain number of refugees, but mostly compensation and settlement of these large numbers of refugees wherever they live today.
Okay, well, since the Arab Peace Initiative was proposed in 2002 and since you proposed the Israeli Peace Initiative, several Arab states have collapsed, and we're talking a paradigm shift in regional relations. Given this, can a regional initiative still be implemented?
More than ever, because I think that you're right that there has been a lot of instability, but it has sort of crystallized a number of very important Arab states, like Egypt, certainly, like Saudi Arabia, like certain Gulf states, North African states, who are clearly on the moderate side and who have the same concerns as Israel about strategic issues, about security issues, about the Iranian nuclear issue, about radical Islam. You're right that certain states will not be relevant for this initiative, like Syria, for example, which has become a non-state. And nobody, including in the Arab world, would expect a future negotiation or a future settlement to include the Golan Heights at this point in time. But I think that those who have remained stable and who have an interest in seeing this region stabilizing understand that Israel can be part of that. Of course, Israel will have to address the Palestinian issue if we do want to have an overall settlement with all those regional players.
Well, given the Prime Minister's statement last week that he saw positive elements in the Saudi initiative, should we be surprised if there are secret clandestine talks happening behind the scenes?
Well, if they are secret, I certainly don't know about them, but I would be very happy to hear that there are such negotiations. I think the time is right. I think the Israeli interest is flagrant. It's quite clear that a status quo is not an option, and since the purely bilateral formula has failed so far to produce the results that we would want, we believe that parallel bilateral and regional effort with an international envelope of support, economic and other, can produce a solution that will secure Israel's interests politically, diplomatically, security, and economically.
What do you think explains France's renewed interest in mediating peace talks?
Well, historically, France has always had an interest in this region. The manifestation of that interest has had its ups and downs, but clearly the vacuum, the void that has been created since the Kerry initiative sort of dwindled into nothingness, I think that is the main concern of the international community, and it is the former French Foreign Minister Laurent Fabius who picked this up and tried to package it into some kind of international initiative. Phase one is behind us, the preparatory one, with quite an impressive attendance, including, by the way, and that connects us to the previous questions, including a very impressive representation of Arab states. And I'm hopeful that this initiative will somehow combine itself with the regional effort as expressed by President Assisi and by the Arab Peace Initiative, and that a joint regional and international effort will be able to produce the results that Israel needs in order to secure its future.